everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the High Tech Women podcast, brought to you by Gilbane Building Company and Symphony Technology Solutions. I am your moderator today for this special High Tech Women panel, Katie Galley, and I am joined, as always, by my co-moderator slash panelist slash amazing VDC engineer over at Gilbane, Grace Kennedy. How are you doing, Grace?
Hey, Katie, I'm doing well. Thanks. How are you?
I am doing awesome. And we are both super excited, Grace, to have today in the Symphony studio with us, your co-panelist, an architectural designer at Raw Creative, Alexa Kaczor. How you doing, Alexa?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Katie and Grace. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, well, we're so excited to have you and dive more into a discussion on our digital tools as we have been doing. And so today, we're going to dive into a discussion around Photoshop. But before we do that, just wanted to get a little bit of background on you, Alexa. And Grace, I'll kick it over to you first. Just give, again, like maybe a sentence recap of who you are, what Gilbane does, and then we'll kick it on over to Alexa.
Great.
Yeah. Hey, guys, Grace Kennedy, VDC engineer with Gilbane Building Company in Orlando, Florida. And as a VDC engineer, I digitally coordinate the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, et cetera, systems within a project to minimize on-site issues.
Wow, that was amazing. Just getting even better at it.
Yeah, I'm trying to shorten those up.
Love it. All right, Alexa, can you tell us, what you do as an architectural designer and what Raw Creative does?
Yeah, so Raw Creative is a design, build, and fabrication firm located in Denver. I actually just started at this firm like 3 months ago, so this is super new to me, and it's been an awesome kind of journey so far. So excited to get into it more, but we're a pretty small fabrication firm that specializes in architectural millwork, and so we do a lot of our projects are smaller commercial, boutique restaurants, hotels, like lobby spaces, custom furniture and fabrication for those things. So a lot of the times we're working with other architects who are normally the project architect, and we kind of get to do the interior architecture of the spaces, which is super fun. So we have a fabrication shop in-house, and my job is to coordinate between the architecture side, the fabrication side, and the construction side, and then doing kind of your typical architectural coordination efforts as well. So a little bit of everything.
Just a little bit of everything.
Nice.
And that's super interesting, Alexa. And too, can you just tell us a little bit then how you got into this space? You said you've been with Raw for just about 3 months, but how did you what was your journey to date like?
Yeah, so I graduated from KU in their master's program in 2018, and then moved right from Kansas to Denver like the week after I graduated. I knew I wanted to head to the mountains, so that was always kind of in my plan. And then I was working at a firm there for probably 2.5 years. It was also a design build firm here in Denver, and so I think ever since KU, I feel like we're kind of drilled to have this design build mindset there, and that's something that I'm really interested in. And so coming from that contracting firm right after school, it was a really large firm, and I wanted to kind of see the opposite side of the spectrum here. And so my current firm, there's only 3 designers, at least on the architecture side. So it's a very small company, get to kind of wear more hats and see a different side of everything. And so trying to, at least in like the beginning stages and first few years of my career, just want to see like everything that's out there. And so now I'm at Raw, and I love it. So
That's great. I mean, really getting a taste for a lot of different things, putting yourself out there, and then too, being willing to move from Kansas to Denver just a week after graduation. That's pretty fearless. You gotta be able to do that.
Sometimes you gotta just go.
Yes.
And pray.
Love it. I love it. All right, ladies. So today we are going to discuss Photoshop. And to start with our discussion, I have a view of Photoshop as, what I learned in high school and middle school of how you edit photos. But I'm sure it's a little bit more adept today, especially given that the what you guys use it for. So can you, both of you, kind of give your perspective on exactly what Photoshop is and maybe how you are both using it on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis?
Yeah. Grace, you want to go first?
Yeah, definitely. Well, so Photoshop is an Adobe product, and Photoshop is like, it is, I would argue, the most common software that allows you to edit still photos, and emphasis on still photos because you can't edit videos on there, and it's not 3D, so all 2D. Again, Alexa, correct me if I'm wrong on this explanation here, but when it comes to, and I feel like what you said, Katie, a lot of people, when they think of Photoshop, it's like, oh, picture retouching, which it 100% is. However, I think, so from my end, so I also went to KU and studied architecture. And in architecture, it was a lot of, we would create renderings in Photoshop, which is basically what a client or a project, what a client wants to see what their project will look like. So it's like, hey, we're going to produce this rendering of what this final product is going to be, so they can have a taste of what's going to be built. But as for a VDC engineer, I'm using it for different purposes now. I'm not doing as many renderings. I'm doing a lot of diagrams. I'm also editing drone footage in Photoshop, whether that's just throwing a Gilbane drone logo on there, or if it's adjusting the tilt if the photo wasn't completely aligned or wasn't completely plumb. But yeah, I've definitely seen with my roles being changed, I'm using Photoshop differently. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you put it well, Grace, of saying it can be this really simple editing tool, and I think Photoshop is great for if you don't know a lot, you can still kind of do what you need, if you will, with like these simple tools. But if you know its capabilities, it's very powerful in what it can do. I would say how I used it in school, kind of what Grace was saying, was for renders and kind of the visualization aspect of your presentations and stuff like that has continued until like on how I use it today. I think it's definitely changed in terms of my knowledge of it and like what its capabilities are. But I would say I mostly use it still for renders, for editing materiality, seeing what different like materials would look like in a space. Like super quickly, you can just like add entourage or add furniture, add scale to it, and kind of just like bring a render to life. So a lot of what I'm still using it is like for client presentations, mostly for the final image. There is some like play of like material palettes and kind of like creating like montages and like for like mood boards, if you will, and kind of like what does the space want to look like. And it's a really good way to just kind of like slap a bunch of images on a page and like kind of curate it so it looks nice and gets like the feeling together in one image. I like to do that too. Another way I like to use Photoshop is like, as like Grace said, like it's a part of the Adobe suite. So like using, going into Adobe Illustrator and creating like line work or diagrams, and then like somehow incorporating that into like this final image. So really just kind of depends on what stage of the project we're in, and if it's a final render or if it's an initial concept. But that's how I use it, at least for work. And then like for personal art projects, I also use it like just for fun, because it's a fun image editing tool as well. So
yeah, you sent me over one of your more recent pieces, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
What was it? What was it of?
It's like this, I think it was like a lobby space, and it's like what I would do in school, and I still do this, is like you would take a render or like a shot from like Revit or something like that, and then print it out. Like I like to still physically print, images, and then like put trace paper over it, and then like sketch in like a light fixture that will go somewhere, or even entourage or like trees in the background, and like have this like kind of add this like hand touch to it, and then scan that trace paper back into Photoshop and then overlay it onto the image. And so kind of like starting to do mixed media within the 2D Photoshop has been really fun.
And quick vocab breakdown here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alexa. Entourage, we're talking about like people. Yeah, okay. Just
Yeah.
Kate, I'm not sure if you're aware.
Or people like furniture, trees, vegetation.
It's like populating your rendering. So it's like, oh, this is how people would interact. You can give scale to your rendering. Just for reference.
Yeah, I mean, I knew what it meant, obviously, but I knew what it meant, so.
Yeah, I did not know what that meant when I started architecture school, so.
Oh, man.
Just the dictionary over here.
I love it. But that's good, you know, for anybody who doesn't actually know what this terminology is, like myself. Good catch, Grace. So
for reference, forgive me for interrupting, Katie, but like my background image right here, this is like photoshopped. It's basically it's a on-site like perspective photo of one of our prefabricated MEP racks, and you have I have our like digital coordination model overlaid with the actual as-built conditions, just so you could see the successful like transition and installation of that coordination effort to the field. But I guess just for like there's so many things you could do on Photoshop, and there's so many different industries that do use it, because at the end of the day, like pictures, you know, say 1,000 words, so or more. Is that the saying? I don't know, but it's just so many industries are using it for, you know, so many different purposes because of that aspect. I mean, you can get, I'm sure you guys have been staring at this for a little bit, like, what the heck is this? But that's what this background is.
Yeah, people have been definitely getting creative with their Zoom backgrounds. Mine is live, so it's not a photoshopped image. But
I like it. It's cute. I like the setup.
Yours is beautiful. Yeah, mine is reflective of my own artistic ability.
I shouldn't laugh at her.
It's something for everyone.
You know, it's great.
It's chic. It's chic.
Minimalistic chic. That's what I was going for.
Exactly,
so,
Katie.
Good job. Good catch, Grace. Love it. So both of you have been working in Photoshop then at least since school, your time at KU, and you both now, you said you've used it in different ways, in different capacities, but all with that kind of base level of it's that 2D photo editor in whatever capacity you're using it. So since you both started using it, and of course it's changed in the way that you might use it yourself in the industry that you're in, but have you seen the platform itself shift very much over time too?
Yeah, I can start, Grace. I started using Photoshop in high school. I took like a digital art class, and it was Photoshop specific, one semester. And I just like fell in love with it. I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is super cool. And it was probably like Photoshop like 2 at that point. I don't know like what version it was. But yeah, so it has been 10 years, but that's a crazy thing to like kind of reflect back on, of just like, oh, I guess like I guess I'm pretty proficient in this program. Didn't really realize. So that was really cool. I think when I got to college, I thought it was like a really big advantage to just know Photoshop going into architecture school. I didn't know initially I wanted to like go into architecture school. And then when I did apply into it and started the program, I realized that my knowledge in Photoshop just kind of, I feel like it really expanded my options on how to like visually present my work and how to explore different, you know, projects, you know, more so than some of my classmates who maybe didn't have prior use in the program. So I thought that was like a really, I don't know, just like a really nice thing. And then, yeah, I mean, they do update it every few years. There's sometimes an update comes out and I'm like, do I even know Photoshop anymore? Like some things like have really changed and other things like have been the same since day one. I think their interface has gotten a lot better, and like I think they're like streaming between all the different like cloud programs. You know, you can open up Photoshop on one computer, then you can open it up on, you know, a different one. And that's their whole like cloud services, is it's really streamlined itself of, you know, you can have like a library of fonts that you use and like color palettes that you use, and like kind of your little toolbox that will always be there to make your content similar across, you know, different like the projects that you're working on, if you will. And so I think that has like really, really improved since I've first started using it. And I think the second thing that I have noticed has really improved is like the tutorials for things of just like, you can find a tutorial on YouTube super easily. Even Adobe as a program, like you open it and it's like, want to learn how to do this? Like click here. And so I think that's like been a huge like advancement in the program, which has been super cool. And I think the hard part about that is like Photoshop can do so much. So you have to understand what it can do before you like search for something, unless you're like on YouTube and you're like randomly searching things, that's how I find out some things too. But like the more you know its capabilities, like it is now very easy to just like find out how to do it. There's so many videos out there, which is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm similarly to what I did for our Autodesk Revit podcast discussion, Katie. I'm currently doing some Googling just because curious about the updates here. Right. So just Googling here. Adobe Photoshop, computer application software, developed in 1987. Wow. Okay, but sold so I don't know if it actually came out then, but it does update pretty regularly. Released every 6 months or so, updates. So I couldn't tell you what Adobe Photoshop version are you currently working in, Alexa? I think I'm in like 8.
Just as 2021, I'd have to look.
Oh, okay, maybe
see what CC suite it is, but
okay.
I think it might be 8.
But again, it has a similar, I guess, like update, like schedule or process as other softwares do, like Autodesk is. I mean, now technology, they just keep coming out with updates because it's just evolving so quickly.
Yeah. I'd say for Photoshop, it's not, I mean, at least the way I use it, like if I was a graphic designer, I think it would be a little bit different, but for what I use it, I don't need to do the update every time it comes out. You know, like I probably do when like the notification keeps bothering me or something like that, but I'm not so in tune with the program where I'm like ready for the next update or like ready for it to do this. And
it'll get tricky or finicky if you're too outdated, though. That's the only issue. You can't do that too many times, or else when you try to, let's say, you know, you're editing a certain rendering on an older version of a newer version of Photoshop, and then you send it to somebody else and they don't have, you know, they're way outdated on their Photoshop. They can't open that file. Or there's just some
you can only procrastinate for so long.
Yeah. Is
that going to be the title of your autobiography? Only procrastinate for so long.
Oh my gosh, I like that. Yeah,
that's good. That's
I'm writing autobiography now.
Nice.
Nice. Add that to your list. Got to write that autobiography at some point. Can't procrastinate for too long. So with Photoshop, then, yeah, you're right. I think YouTube has become almost a necessary resource for learning new skills, because you can learn so much from YouTube. People put tutorials out there on almost anything. But with Photoshop, Grace, like you're saying, and all the updates, does it get buggy? Like if you do an update and then maybe it malfunctions something else on the back end. So with every update, is it typically a pretty good addition to Photoshop, or just sometimes or more often than not, it kind of mess up the program on the back end?
I haven't had any issues with the updates or it being buggy.
Yeah.
You have Alexa, but I haven't really run into too many issues.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if I use it like to that like scale where I would even notice. Like, I mean, bugs I would notice, but like little updates, I don't know. I just figure out what's different and I keep going.
And then adapt. Yeah.
Usually not that much.
Just YouTube it.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Exactly.
What a millennial answer.
Really?
It really is. True.
So with your use of Photoshop, I know you both use it in different capacities and have used it in different ways for years now. Over time, I know you probably have the things that you like about Photoshop, but then also maybe things you wish you could change about the program. So are there things that you wish, man, I wish it did this better, I wish it had this capability, or just kind of overall critiques of the platform?
Do you want me to go first, Alexa?
I can start. I think I've got a few responses. I'd say like overall, I mean, kind of what I said at the beginning is it's actually a really simple program to use if you're only doing simple things. I think like just looking at it, you would never really know kind of like the powerhouse that it is, which I think is like, it's got like this mysterious aspect to it, if you will. But I think like
so true.
Once you like learn that, it's like, it kind of like unlocks this whole nother world to Photoshop. And I think you have to just like get into it and like be curious about it. And like, in order to even like figure out what it can do, like I've been using it for 10 years and still I like feel like I don't know so much about it, which is kind of cool. It kind of like keeps me interested in it as well. And being like, I now know enough of it where, I can go on YouTube and then being like, how to do this. And there's like a million videos, which is really cool to kind of like unlock that next, like, what else can it do? Like, or if it can't like figure out how to do it, it's kind of like a puzzle of like, I have this image in my head and like, how can I get that on paper, which is really cool. I think it's also like changing, like the way I'm using it is also changing all the time too, just like with other programs, with, maybe like other digital platforms, or my sketching is getting better, or we use Inkscape. It's like a plugin for Revit. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but it's like a rendering platform. So I used to do all my renders like in Photoshop. That's like what I did through school. Like I didn't really do it any other way. And now we use Inkscape for renders, but then I can bring it into Photoshop. And so it's kind of like this, now there's an additional step within it. And I think, so like adapting how I use it is just like, you kind of still have to like think critically on how you use it and like what you want the the outcome to be, if you will. And so in terms of the platform, I think it works. I think it works. It does what it's supposed to do. I think sometimes it's a little hard to really understand like its cross capabilities between other Adobe suites. I think I don't use that very efficiently. And I think it's not super intuitive. Again, like I think if I looked into it a little bit more and like even just used it a little bit more with work and personal stuff, I would be able to figure it out. But I think there's some of that complexity to the program that just is not intuitive at all. Excuse me.
Alexa, so real quick. Yeah. So for reference here, other Adobe programs that you're referring to, we got Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, Premiere, and so Premiere would be like editing videos. Illustrator, I always think of that as it's like your line work.
Vector line work, really clean, crisp lines. InDesign is probably where we do a lot of our presentations. So you can then take your image that you've just edited in Photoshop and put it into InDesign for a presentation.
Right.
And so like how those all work together, I think sometimes it's not super intuitive on like what the best workflow is and saving files and all that stuff. And so I think like you just have to use it more to like really know its power. And I think that's like the hard part, but maybe that's like user error, right? Like Photoshop is maybe doing everything right, and it's like, that's for me to figure out. But
no, I understand what you're saying, and I've thought of that as well. I almost think of these Adobe programs and softwares as like they're all related, meaning they're all relatives, and you want them to be like a family unit, right? You want like mom, dad, brother, sister, but they're really like your cousin and then like your second aunt or something. And it's like, I feel like somehow Adobe could work on that, the like transition between these programs more. Sorry for interrupting. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. Yeah.
Cool. On my end, I like Photoshop, and I would completely agree with the whole, with your point on if you're entering into Photoshop and you just want to do something pretty simple, it's very self-explanatory, like very easy on that end, which is nice. It's very user-friendly. However, if you are getting more into the weeds of renders and creating layers and lots of layers, if you're not organized with your layers, you're screwed. Like it'll be very difficult to keep those organized. And again, it's more of just a lesson learned for the future. Once you know, okay, this is going to be a very complicated render with a lot of layers. I want to have options to turn things on, turn things off, hide things, not hide things. So that means going into this, each layer needs to be labeled. You need to understand, okay, I have, all the entourage on this layer. I have all the materials on this layer. I have this option on this layer, labeling it. Like, that's crucial. So like you said before, Alexa, that's maybe more of user error. So yeah, I'm not really critiquing Photoshop on that, but I guess it's more of just a lesson learned for the future. Katie, if you ever want to do some renders, there you go.
There you go. And what I'm hearing is I just need to go to YouTube to really learn how to use it. That's the bottom line.
YouTube for everything, yes.
For everything. Well, ladies, do we have any closing thoughts about Photoshop before we wrap?
No, I think I covered everything I wanted to.
Cool, Grace. Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know.
What about you?
Feel like if you can use your tools to your advantage, like it will just like open up your design capabilities and how you can express your story and really like story tell what you're trying to get across. I think so often we have like all these thoughts in our head, and like actually presenting it to people is like so important. And Photoshop is, to me, a vital tool to do that. So
well said.
Yeah, love the way you put that. Well, Alexa, if somebody wanted to learn more about you, get in contact with you, and learn more about RAW, where might they do that?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a good place to go. Always happy to connect there with anyone. Raw Creative has a website and probably an Instagram we're pretty active on, so you can find a lot of our work and kind of current projects and processes there. It's just Raw Creative is the tagline, I believe. And then, yeah, I'm also on Instagram too. I love it. And you can probably find me back at KU at some point.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
If you're ever in Denver, always happy to, have people reach out and show you around. So
cool. Awesome. Grace, what about you and Gilbane?
Well, Gilbane Building Company is on all of the social media platforms. I myself, you can either email me at gkennedy1@gilbaneco.com or find me on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Alexa, for the great conversation.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. And thank you all for tuning in on our discussion on Photoshop. We'll see you next time.